Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook. It's your boy, RIC, and the place to be here at the Jersey Shore, broadcasting around the universe when it comes to the football universe. The Philadelphia Eagles getting set here to take on the Green Bay Packers Sunday night in prime time. It all goes down. Of course, brought to you by Ocean Casino and Resorts, your home for Eagles pre- and post-game here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Good morning. Shout out to all the chat room people. You're up at it very early. I like to see it. Alexander, Danny D, William Stark, Stephen Michael, all my chat room people from the front to the back. Where you at? Love to see the Thanksgiving plans. Everybody's getting jolly. Yes, it's the most wonderful time of the year as far as I'm concerned. Food, Thanksgiving, football. I mean, buckle up. It's a double chin strap affair. And I think we've got football every single day starting tomorrow, unless you count the World Cup football. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I mean, the bowl season is really the only time it gets better than this. And Alexander, sorry, you've got to work on Thanksgiving. And good morning, Adams Exploits. Hopefully the sciatica is not too bad. And we're going to have a lot of fun today on the show. It is our 59th episode, believe it or not. Smash that like, yes. Get it up. Do your boy a favor for the holidays. Make it a happy Thanksgiving. Make Tone, DeShields, and Xander, and Krause very happy. Smash the like button. Do us all a favor. We greatly appreciate the love and support, for real, for real. And on a side note, I mean, I hate starting off the top of shows with bad news, but man, Virginia, they need our love and support, guys. Can we send some positive vibes down to the Chesapeake area? And Virginia, the University of Virginia game is canceled once again this week after the tragic on-campus shooting. Just this morning, I saw another mass shooting down at the Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. 6 people killed. And, you know, I hate to just throw the generic prayers up. There's not much I can do here sitting in my seat from the Jersey Shore, except send our thoughts and prayers. But, man, Virginia needs a little bit of our love. Virginia Beach, what's the slogan? Where lovers roam. I mean, you hate to see it. Hopefully, you know, we can get back in track. And apparently it was a former employee of the Walmart. Thank you. Oceana's home from school today. She'll say goodbye at the end of the show. Ryan English, the shooting at Walmart has nothing to do with the football game, but it's called the human element here at the Football Playbook. If you're privy to the situation, what's going on in our country, well, you know, it has nothing to do with football other than the fact that some football players got killed in Virginia, and now more people got killed in Virginia, and we're talking about it because it's relevant to society, okay? If you're a father, you have kids, or you just are a human, you talk about these things. Sorry for ruining your football program, and don't worry, we got 2 hours of power. Hopefully you're strapped up, buckle up. We appreciate you tuning in. Okay. Eagles are favored by a touchdown against your Packers. We have notes from Shane Steichen's presser yesterday. Jonathan Gannon spoke to the assembled media. We also have news and notes on your Philadelphia Eagles. Later on in the show, we'll have some fun with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Semifinalists were announced yesterday. I'll try to sneak in some of that, and a lot of great games to cover over the course of the weekend in the NFL, the college football world, and we've got our finger on the pulse when it comes to the NFL draft. I'll try to point out some prospects that some of you Eagles fans might want to keep an eye on with so much college football action over the holiday weekend. And, of course, we got the NFL Pick'em. You know, I struggled. I told you last week was a tough week for me. My first losing week of the season, 3-8. So it took us 11 weeks to get the first losing week. 3-8, still 25 games above 500, 87-62 against the spread. So we'll take it. I'll have the NFL pick 'em later on in the show, along with Glenn Irby from the Eagles Newswire USA Today. He'll check in here in about 20 minutes or so. Always appreciate the insight and analysis there. And, we're also sending thoughts and prayers to our own Kayla Santiago, who was scheduled to join us, of course, the sports director at Delmarva Sports, Philadelphia's finest, here each and every Wednesday. She was having some medical issues this morning as well. So we wish her the best. And unfortunately, she won't be able to be here today. Glenn Irby will in about 20 minutes or so. So buckle up for that. We'll get into it. And, we had our good friend, Bill Huber from PackersCentralSI.com yesterday. If you did miss that interview, go back. Tone did a great job of isolating that. And I myself actually went back and watched that interview because Bill raised a lot of great points that I quite frankly wasn't aware of. And he's been covering the Packers for a long time, does a great job. And he led us kind of into the Packers situation. I asked Bill if there was a quote unquote schism in the locker room, and is it a team divided? And, I'm not sure. I agree with everything he said, but he knows better than I do. And he said LaFleur, which I also was not really aware of. LaFleur was the one calling out Rodgers in the media, I guess, starting early on in the season. So, my beef with Rodgers was going on the Pat McAfee show and airing out the dirty laundry. Well, Bill said, no, not so fast. That was a buildup to LaFleur kind of igniting that media battle. And so, I do agree that you have really two mega egos and personalities colliding in Green Bay, and we'll see how it unfolds on the field this Sunday night. Now, Ndamukong Suh, Linville Joseph, they combined for 7 tackles. Ocam Razor, yes, 2 quarterback hits and a sack. I don't really get into Pro Football Focus grades. It's not my cup of tea. I think anybody in the evaluation industry will tell you that. It's a nice talking point for the media to discuss, but those rankings are way off. So I don't put a lot of stock into it. I do put a lot of stock into it. My eyes tell me that Suh and Joseph clogged up the middle of that run game after the first drive against Jonathan Taylor, and we'll get more insight from Glenn Irby and get his take on it. But hey, Suh, Linville Joseph, these guys have been doing it. I mentioned Suh was on the cover of the NFL Draft Bible, 13 years ago? Hard to imagine. Still doing it. Linville Joseph, still doing it. Brandon Graham, I think, was also in that draft class. Still doing it. So kudos, man, to some real true professionals and some emergency. 911, Howie Roseman dialed it up and plugged it up. It was in need of some plumbing. And we clogged the leakage. Okay, so reciprocity. Okay. Timetable for Maddox, I believe he has at least one more game because he was placed on the injured reserve, which means you have to miss 4 games. I think this will be his 4th game, so I think he'll be eligible next week. Jordan Davis, I believe, has at least 2 more games. And, let's be honest, the fact that they signed Suh and Linville Joseph, part of that is because, yes, they needed to shore up the run defense. Another part of that is because the Jordan Davis injury might linger. It's at least 4 weeks. There's no guarantee he's going to be good to go when he is eligible to return. So that signing could be some foreshadowing. And look, at this point of the juncture, you got to hope that even if the Eagles have home field in the first round and everything clinched, you hope that Jordan Davis can get back by the Saints game. They got the Saints and the Giants the last 2 games of the season. And you want to at least let Jordan Davis get some reps under his belt, get some reps with Sue and Linville, if possible. And man, just think about the run defense was a weakness if, it's a mighty big if, pun intended, if Jordan Davis returns and if Linville Joseph and Sue remain healthy. Wow. What that 5-man front is going to look stout. That 5-man front is going to look stellar. Yeah, give me, I guess, Linville over the nose, throw me some Jordan Davis and Sue on either end, and then, oh, by the way, you got Reddick, you got Sweat, you got Brandon Graham, buckle up. Wow. Then the Eagles can get back to where they were at in creating turnovers, because pass rush leads to interceptions. Good pass coverage tends to lead to sacks. It's like the chicken or the egg. What comes first? Does good secondary pass coverage result in sacks and pressures, or do sacks and pressures result in good pass coverage and interceptions there? So, I think it's going to be a fantastic look once all these guys, all these pieces, man, get back onto the field. So Ocam's Razor with the updates says Maddox can eligible to return December 11th. Okay, that seems a little bit long. Well, I guess today is November. This game is the 27th. So he would miss this game and next game. So 2 more games for Maddox, which means Jordan Davis. I thought Jordan Davis missed 2 games already. Yeah, I think Maddox is eligible after 1 more game. We'll try to get some clarification during the commercial break there. It's a good point. Maddox, I think, has kind of been, yeah. He's been a key ingredient here on the defense, and you can get by Josiah Scott. He's a good hold the fort piece on the defense. He's not somebody you want to lean on or count on for an extended period of time, and I think you can skate by. You can skate by with Josiah Scott for another game or 2, but that's a big piece come playoff time. And I think when it comes to health of this team, obviously we've seen the lack of depth at tight end. Big issue. I would argue safety, there's really 0 depth. Should something happen to Chauncey or Epps, Eagles are in trouble. And I pointed it out yesterday. It was Reed Blankenship that got the backup snaps. Now, again, very small body of work, 2 reps. But still, Blankenship got the call, not Kayvon Wallace, when they needed to throw the backup safety in there. So, Blankenship out of Middle Tennessee State, he can play either safety position. So, I think he would be the guy, next man up, should something happen to the safety spot. At corner, I think Zach McPherson deserves some kudos for the way he's played. It hasn't been all gravy. It hasn't been all love. But I think McPherson, the good has outweighed the bad in terms of what are the expectations? Mid-round pick, 3rd or 4th round pick, gets called on, especially when Slay went down. he filled in admirably. I thought Zach McPherson did pretty well, but I would say after the safety spot, you don't want to get too far down the depth chart at the cornerback position because then things can start to get a little bit dicey. And Slay with the back, that's a scary thing because the back, go ask Adams Exploits. I've had back issues. I can tell you myself. The back can flare up at any given moment. So you got to worry about that with an older player, a back injury. Bradbury, man, he has been durable and reliable throughout his whole career. So, you hope that there's no more hits in the back end of that secondary there. Now, the other issue with this team right now, sitting at 9-1, I heard a little bit of the Mac and Mac show. Jody Mack makes a good point, and it's hard to criticize Howie. I mean, listen, the guy does his due diligence. I think he's in on a lot of these phone calls. I will say, I don't want to say that he missed the boat, but man, that Nyheim Hines, I think that would have been the good one because I'm looking at how Buffalo's utilizing him, and we all seen how he catches the ball out of the backfield, which I'm not sure he's done a lot of that with Buffalo, but we all know if you're a football fan, you're very well aware. Nyheim Hines popping up on the red zone with all these catches out of the backfield. But what's caught my attention is the fact that they're using him as a kick returner and punt returner. And that would have been a great upgrade on special teams. If Howie could have brought Nyheim Hines in here, it would have upgraded special teams. It would have gave you a pass-catching running back out of the backfield. And it would have gave you another body. Now, I think the issue here, again, it comes to ego. Like, they drafted Gainwell, in the 3rd round? They don't want to throw the towel in. They don't want to admit a mistake. Sometimes you got to cut your losses, call a spade, admit it wasn't the greatest pick. And I kind of liked Gainwell coming out. He's just not getting it done. So he's not cutting the mustard. At some point, you got to find out what you got in Trey Sermon or, Darrell Henderson, who's another Memphis guy, right? He's another one of those Memphis running backs, I believe. He's out there. Not sure that's exactly the direction worth going. I saw Melvin Gordon's out there. I mean, Melvin Gordon just doesn't get it, guys. I hate to tell you. He's a bigger, physical type runner. But he's a turnover machine. The guy puts the ball, I don't know how many fumbles he had. He must have lost at least 6 fumbles this year. The other thing is this. When the Denver Broncos don't want you, you must be really bad. Okay? Because I think right now, outside of the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos might be the most embarrassing organization in the National Football League. They just got swept by the Raiders. The Raiders, who can't win a game except for when they play the Broncos. Denver is in dire straits. And I'm not sure Melvin Gordon has the mentality, that dog mentality. Like, yo, dude, you got cut. And my man is posting pictures on Instagram driving the OJ Ford Bronco, and he photoshopped himself in AC Calendar. I mean, Melvin Gordon, what are you doing? He's posting a picture of him driving the OJ white Ford Bronco out of Denver, complaining, talking about, oh man, you fans were hell. Well, shit, Melvin, come to Philadelphia and fumble and find out the Philadelphia heat that you're going to face. I don't think Melvin Gordon would cut it in Philly. Sorry. Go back to San Diego and play out under the the palm trees or something, man. Hey. Yeah. A lot of comments coming in. Jay Hoffa, Justin, Antonio, appreciate the feedback. Listen, I liked Gainwell coming out. I agree. I think that sometimes scheme and fit and how you're utilized dictates your effectiveness. I'm not calling Gainwell a bust. I just don't think he fits in with what the Eagles are trying to do. And I'm not sure what the Eagles are trying to do from week to week, but clearly Kenny Gainwell is not in the plan. And I still, it's funny. I'll get into the Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon presser after Glenn Irby coming up here at 10:30. But finally, somebody asked about that Boston Scott Bizarro situation down at the end. And we've talked about it here on the show. Miles Sanders draws the pass interference. They come downfield. Then he runs the ball for 6 yards. Then he runs the ball for 5 yards. Then he gets another first down. And then he's benched. He's banished to the bench, and Boston Scott takes over down the stretch. Now, Steichen was actually asked not specifically about the situation, but he was asked finally by a Philadelphia media brethren that about Boston Scott's usage, and Steichen was so brief, so direct, so quick to change topics and field the next question. He just said, "Oh, love him as a player, want to keep rolling with him," and then took the next question, didn't want to talk about it. Interesting. I think there's more than meets the eye there. I really do, because for as well as Miles Sanders is playing, why does he get banished to the bench during the most critical moments of the game on multiple occasions this year? I think maybe I'm reading too much into it. You don't just bench what I would call a star player on offense. It's kind of a slap in the face. I said, let's reward Miles now for getting us down here, for drawing the big pass interference call, for picking up the first down on 2 tough, hard-nosed runs, and then you bench him? It just doesn't add up. And again, maybe I'm reading too much into this. I feel like I have a good read on people's personalities. I've watched enough of these Shane Steichen pressers that I feel like we've sat down and shared broke bread. But I mean, his body language, his demeanor, his abruptness, the way he answered it, the way he wanted to move on from it, he didn't want to talk about Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. It's weird. Well, why don't you want to talk about it? If you believe in what you're doing, if you feel good about it, well, let's talk about it. So, I mean, listen, there was no follow-up. Hopefully, you know what? MJI, I'd probably agree with that point more than Alexander Freeman. Are they preserving Miles Sanders because there's durability issues? Possibly. But if it's going to mean Jalen Hurts has to get hit 20 times a game, I ain't for that. Now, Alexander Freeman says, hey, they don't want to pay him. He's in a contract year. I pray, I hope the Eagles are not game planning based on somebody's upcoming pending free agent status at the end of the year when you're trying to win a chip. And when you're trying to win a chip, this team's all in. They can't just be benching Miles because they don't want to pay him in the offseason. Doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. I don't know exactly what's transpiring. I just think there's something to it. And maybe our next guest, Glenn Irby, can tell us more. Eagles Newswire USA Today. We're going to chop it up, break it down with Glenn right after the commercial break like we do each and every Wednesday. It's all brought to you by Ocean Casino Resorts, your home for Eagles pre- and post-game this Sunday night in prime time. Smash that like button. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Don't wait until after